예, 오늘은 이제 인스톨레이션 해서 제가 이제 회장으로 취임하는 날이고요. 그 다음에 이번에 저희가 이제 한 10개 지역, 이게 리저널 챕터들이 만들어졌는데, 그래서 뭐 거기 이제 그 지역 이사님들, 그 다음에 또 이 저희 오피서들 같이 이제 취임하는 겁니다. 그래서 취임 행사는 좀 상대적으로 보통보다 짧게 할 거고요. 예, 그 다음에 이제 그 다음에는 바로 그 전문 단체 뭐 또는 비즈니스 단체 협회장님들, 그다음에 이 민주당 소속 의원님들 같이 이제 토론회하는 좀 각자 짧게 스피치하면서 그 서로 좀 얘기를 나누는 그런 시간을 가질 겁니다.
앞으로 취임하고 나서 어떤 활동을 시작하고 있습니까?
일단 제일 큰 게 이제 내년 대선이니까요. 그래서 내년에 대선 때 이제 좀 내셔널 펀드레이저 한번 전국적으로 한번 오르가나이즈 하려고 계획 중에 있고요. 그다음에 좀 장기적으로는 저희 이제 국회의원들, 그래서 연방 레벨에서 좀 이렇게 친한파가 좀 많이 되어지고 저희하고 같이 함께 일하실 만한 분들 좀 더 많이, 지금 뭐 오늘도 몇 분 오시지만 더 많이 같이 이제 가까이 지내는 그런 좀 관계를 만들어 나갈 생각입니다.
지금 이제 나중에 좀 민주당 협회가 하고 있지 않습니까?
KADC,
각 지역에도 그 로컬 단체들 어떻게 좀 아울릴 수 있는지.
일단은 계속 만나고 얘기하는 중입니다. 지금 벌써 KADC의 이제 진킴 회장님 벌써 만나서 얘기했고, 이제 뭐든지 이제 항상 같이 얘기하고 같이 좀 협조적으로 진행하자 얘기를 하고 있고요. 또 이제 다른 지역에도 제가 알기로는 이게 민주당 모임들이 있어요. 그래서 저희 이제 KADNO로 조인하시면 더 좋고, 아니면 좀 뭐 외부적이시라도 같이 이제 하려고 합니다. 제가 이제 임기 중에 하고 싶은 게 그거예요. 좀 내부 조직을 더 강화하면서 또 외부적으로도 같이 하는 협조하는 그런 단체들 뭐 항상 많이 만들어 나가는 것, 그런 계획입니다.
그 민주당 관련뿐만 아니라 또 커뮤니티가 정의되는 단체가 되잖아요.
맞습니다. 기본적으로는 이제 어떻게 보면 뭐 미디어 비슷할 수도 있어요. 이렇게 정치가 분들하고 또는 커뮤니티 멤버분들하고 항상 이렇게 만나게 해드리고 또 목소리가 전해지게 하고 그런 역할을 주로 할 겁니다. 시작적으로는. 또 장기적으로는 이제 어떤 사안에 따라서 특히 이제 내셔널 레벨에서 이슈가 있을 때 좀 목소리도 내고, 그래서 우리 커뮤니티가 원하는 게 좀 정책에 반영되는 그렇게 되려고 노력할 생각입니다. 감사합니다.
Hi, I'm Sue Park. I'm an attorney at Minneapolis, and I'm very honored and excited to be here and MC for this event. I'm the secretary of CABNO, the American Democratic National Organization, and I just wanted to thank everyone for coming here and spending your Friday night with us.
That's great. You know, her name is Sue Young Park, but in Korea, her name was chosen by a profession, Sue Park. Sue Park. So she's an attorney, but in Korea, what she's going to do is Sue back. We have Alex here. Arnold Schwarzenegger's pronunciation, Sue back, right? So her name is Sue Park. Thank you so much. I know you're all hungry, so we're going to try to move forward and do as fast as we can. We do have a lot of speakers tonight. Our president, Jake Jeong, wanted to not just have a traditional installation to just use captains. So this is a very safe place tonight. So it might take a little longer, but we do have the bread and that'll be refilled. So you'll be good. You're not going to be starving. And also another good news that I was just told is that we're going to validate every one of your parking tickets. You need to hear the final condition is that you have to stay here until the end. That's just kidding. I know Congresswoman Judy Chu is laughing. Do I have to stay here? No, she has another. She took a busy schedule. And also Congressman Ted Lieu is here. So. How about a big round of applause for Congresswoman Judy Chu? elected officials, but there will be a time in the program for introducing them.
So please, this is my first time.
Whose bright stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, oh, the rampart we watched were so gallantry streaming, and the rockets let glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say the stars-spangled banner yet wave. Oh, the land of the free and the home of the brave. 해물과 백두산이 마르고 닳도록 하느님이 보호하사 우리나라 만세 무궁화 삼천리 화려강산 대한 사람 대하늘로 길이 보전하세.
Now he's retired and has been served as president of Korean Churches Council of Churches. Consists of 1,500 churches, not the 1,500 members, but churches. So, and also now he's serving as a clergy council for Olympic Station, for LAPD Clergy Council, and he's the president of the World Cultural Exchange Foundation, helping the children in China. Here is Mr. Ballrom. Please give him a big round of applause. You know, we can all understand him spiritually, so he's going to be occasioning those of you Korean to be able to understand.
오늘 여기에 여러 또 현지 의원님도 오셨는데 하나님이여 이제 미국의 우정 활동을 통해서 이 나라를 위대한 지도자들이 되게 하여 주시옵소서. 오늘 또 이렇게 새일을 시작하는 우리 정찬영 회장님을 비롯해서 모든 임원들에게 하나님의 축복이 함께 하시고 이제 작은 게 시작하였사오나 앞으로는 이 모임이 전국적으로 하나님 이제 발달하여서 많은 이제 조직을 가지고 아버지 움직일 수 있도록 축복해 주시기를 바랍니다. 오늘 이제 처음부터 이 모든 행사의 순서를 주님이 축복해 주시기를 바라며 예수님의 이름으로 기도하옵나이다.
It is my pleasure to introduce Mr. Edward Gu, who is the outgoing president of Dhatto, and he holds a lot of titles and he's been very active in the Korean American community. He was president of Young Christian Businessmen's Committee of LA in 2004. He was the president of Korean Real Estate Brokers Association in Southern California in 2007. And he was the president of LAPD OBA Foundation in 2008. And he was the president of Korean American Chamber of Commerce of Los Angeles in 2011. And now he's advisor media chair of Korean American Chamber of Commerce, United States. And of course, he's the outgoing president of Dhatto. Please welcome Mr. Edward Gu.
is my great honor to be here tonight. It is truly encouraging to see old friends and honorable guests together for our installation. I want to thank those many leaders who played a constructive role. I am convinced that we have identified those challenges. I want to thank the incoming President, Jake Jeong. We all get behind and support our new President Jeong for the next 2 years. Also, I'd like to thank to our board members and advisors from all over the state, especially to Harris Law from Chicago, Kelly Park from New York, Ik from Seattle, Lee Jae-won and Jay from Hawaii, and John Youngs from Korea. And thanks to founding president Brad Lee and senior advisor Richard Park, and installation committee chair David Song, and the event chair Thomas Chan. I'd like to special thanks and my great honor to honorable guest Congresswoman Judy Chu, Congressman Ted Lieu, and some other officials coming, State Treasurer John Chang, and the LA Community College Trust Mike Ying and Mike Fong, and LAPD Commanding Officer Captain Victor Palator over there, and Honorable Judge and former mayor of Irvine, Suki Kang, and all Korean American once again, on behalf of all the members of Council, take valuable time out of your busy schedule to join our events. Thank you.
Next, we're going to have officers, the judge. We probably do not need any for downtown Los Angeles. We're Stanley Mossford, and he's the chairperson of the Asian Pacific American President, which is very actively involved in supporting a quarter of the cabinet from the inception. And thank you so much for coming. Please welcome Judge Hiroshi.
For that very generous introduction. He was making a final argument. I thought that was a little too long, so I would sustain my own objection to that introduction as far as length goes, but I appreciate it nonetheless. All right, so I think the officers and the new president are going to step forward to the stage, please.
From New York, we have Representative Gary Clark and Bruce. Come forward, from Chicago, Harrison, engineer, okay, Harrison is there, Jim, is there, and I'm from and you also have from Seattle.
Well, you settled in. It's good to see so many people this evening, and so many very great elected officials taking out from their time, their very schedules to come to your event evening. It shows a lot of respect on their part for your organization. And I want to thank incoming President Jake Jeong for inviting me to handle the installation this evening. We judges, a civil judge, so we can only make 50% of the people happy. But when we do installations, everybody's happy. So we're really excited to do something in a positive way, accessible to all. Now, my oath is very simple. It's like a marriage ceremony. As long as you say "I do" at the end, you will be. Please raise your right hands and listen to the oath. And it is as follows. Do you, as president and officers and board members, promise to follow the bylaws and carry out your duties and responsibilities of your office, and to carry out the great traditions and ideals of the Korean American Democratic National Organization?
I do.
Congratulations, you're duly sworn in.
My turn now.
Next, I'm going to introduce the incoming president of Canada, Mr. Jake Jeong. He's a fellow attorney of mine, and he's also alumni of Royal the legal advisor for major business associations, Korean Federation of Small and Medium Businesses, Korean Apparel Manufacturers Association, and Korean Real Estate Brokers Association. Mr. Jeong is also the Vice President of Korean Community Lawyers Association and the Secretary of LAPDOPA, the foundation. I don't know when you have time to practice. But please welcome and give a round of applause to incoming President, Mr. Jake Jeong.
So I'm always trying to make some time for like outside activities for sure. Like some of you are my clients, and then some of you are my friends. So make sure you. I guarantee you, I always make time for the cases I'm working on first, and then try to work for communities. So that's how I approach these things. And I just did not want to make a formal speech. I'm not a politician. I'm not a professional public speaker. So I don't really enjoy listening that kind of speeches. So I just wanted to keep it informal, friendly. So I just did not prepare transcripts at all. So I just came. I ate a lot of what I'm gonna say today, and then I just came up with just two topics. Number one, what TEDNO is, and number two, what the plan is future. So the TEDNO Korean National Organization is by the name, it's obvious, it's a national organization. And then why did we, from the beginning, start doing this? Because we have a lot of great resources, people that are actively involved in political procedure. And locally, not only even LA, New York, San Francisco, even Hawaii, we have so many great Korean American people that are actively working for Korean communities, Korean community members to the political process, so that the politicians and the Congress will hear the voices and reflect all these agenda and the opinions to be incorporated into the law or policies or state or federal governments. But it was the very first inauguration of President Obama, that was about 8 years ago. The Korean American Democrats from all different regions, they got together to congratulate the inauguration in DC. And they came up, they were saying hi to each other and getting to know each other, talking to each other, and then it was just one that started saying, they were all just saying the same thing. Now maybe it's the right time for us to have something national that'll really more organize all these voices, all these resources, these many different Korean communities have in different regions. So and then the president had 2-year terms. So I am coming president, and then now we are the elections for the president's position and the congressional positions in 2016. So 2016 is a very big year, and you just realized next topic, plan. The plan is, we during the president's elections, during the history, the Korean American communities they were very actively, deeply involved. We just don't know all these people, but they are very passionate, they are very dedicated, and they have resources and abilities too. We just know each other, we just put them all together. It was all just local activities here, and then because of that, we were heard locally, but not at the national level, not at the federal level yet. We might have been heard, but I would say that's not enough. So that's the plan. We'll organize national fundraiser next spring for the presidential election. So it's not going to be just local, sporadic, different events here and there. It will be one big national event, and then we will try to invite the Democratic presidential candidate to our event. So that's one thing. And another thing is, we all know, we are going to have congressional elections. And down the road, it will take a while to make this really meaningful, but the plan is we want to be real, true supporters and friends of congressional congressional officers like Congresswoman Judy Chu and Congressman Ted Lieu. Congressman Mike Honda is on the way, so he will arrive here anytime soon. So that will be the good beginning. And our start is already great because we have very good, dedicated, passionate friends and supporters for Korean communities in federal Congress who will make good friends, who will work more closely together, and we will have more like representatives of different to the political process national level, so that our voices will be really meaningfully heard during the procedure and then incorporated into the result of these all politics. So that's the plan. So I'm not done about introducing Ted and what the plan is. I decided to do this because I realized while meeting many different people in the last couple of months, everybody asked me, so what is it, Kendall? And then, why is it national at a sudden? And then, so I hope I answered that questions very clearly. So I really hope we'll share this vision all together because as the president, I'm not really leading you or leading this organization at all. I'm this member in Kendall. I'm this member in the community members in a way. But I do believe we have in our pockets already. All we needed to do is just connecting them together and make a very great, nice mechanism. And then that will show us a lot more value for community. So I hope everybody shares this vision and work together with us. Thank you very much.
Who's going to speak next? Let's get into the Congress too. In need of our support and facing another challenging election. I think all the Asian candidates or elected officials are challenging every time there's an election. Congresswoman Judy Chu, as you all know, she is the first Chinese American woman elected to the U.S. Congress, and she serves as the U.S. representative for California 27th Congressional District. She has served since 2009, and she helped Korean American back in 2008. I remember that day that I was in DNC. The LPGA announced that all the other golfers need to be proficient in English, which would prevent a lot of talented, eligible players not being able to compete in the LPGA. It was Carolyn Bivett, who was the commissioner at that point in time, Congresswoman Judy Chu, and Congressman Ted Lieu, and also Mike King and all other Johnson and elected officials supported the movement of preventing LPGA from having tournaments here in the state of California. Back then, they were working in the state of California, and finally got her removed and withdraw that proficiency requirement. Thereafter, look what happened. LPGA, it's all Korean players. If that proficiency standard, then obviously we would not have seen that many Asian players, especially Korean players. So we need, we need officials like that. And, without further ado, please join me in welcoming Congresswoman.
Well, thank you so much for that wonderful introduction, Brad. I really appreciate it. So great to be able to meet all of you here at the Korean American Democratic National Organization. First, let me congratulate Edward Koo for such a great year, 2 years as president. And let me congratulate Jake Jeong as incoming president. A wonderful term. And it's so wonderful to see all of you here from around the nation. I think it's great that you are raising your voice at the national level. And do we ever need it? We know that we have to have our voices heard we know as Asian American Pacific Islanders, we have to have a seat at the table where the decisions are made. Because, as the saying goes, if you don't have a seat at the table, you're most likely on the menu. It wasn't long ago when APIs were on the menu, simply because we did not have APIs, Asian Pacific Islanders, in federal government to speak up for us. In fact, it wasn't too long ago that if you were walking down the halls of the U.S. Capitol, you saw an Asian American coming towards you, you just had to turn around and look. It was so unusual. But today, we have the Congressional Asian Pacific American Caucus, and we have increased our numbers of Asian Pacific Islanders in Congress, including the wonderful Congressmember Ted Lieu, who was the most recent one to join us. And now we have 14 Asian Congress. It is the highest in our nation's history. And because we encourage others to join CAPAC, our Congressional Asian Pacific Caucus, that is with high numbers of Asians, actually our total numbers are 50 as members of CAPAC. So that makes a very powerful. We have people in Congress in this way. We can work on issues to make a difference. And one of our top issues is making sure that we break the glass ceiling for Asian Pacific Islanders on the federal level. There were very, very few Asian Pacific Islanders that were federal judges. And so we advocated that President Obama appoint highly qualified APIs as federal judges. And I'm happy to say that President Obama did respond. In fact, he more than tripled the number from 8 to 26. And that includes the historic appointments of 2 Korean American Article III judges. In the Northern District of California, we have Lucy, the first Korean American woman to serve as a federal judge. And we have John Lee in the Northern District of Illinois. And we also pushed for important appointees in our departments. For instance, what could be more important to Asian Americans than USCIS? They have so much jurisdiction over naturalization citizenship. Well, we pushed for the appointment of a Korean American, Juliet Choi, and now she is the chief of the director of United States Citizen Immigration Services. Can you imagine? She is not in the entire nation at USCIS. Talk about power. She has. We can't stop there. We need to keep on going until we finally have somebody back in our cabinet level, our presidential level. And why stop there? Have an API, the first ever API, have an Asian Pacific Islander in the United States. Don't you think? Now, I want to say to all of you that this is a very, very important year. This is a presidential year, and so much activity is going on that I feel it's really important for Asian Pacific Islanders to have presence. This is our time. Look at the power and potential of the Asian Pacific the last decade, from 2 million to 4 million. We have increased the number of Democrats amongst Asian Pacific Islanders. Did you know that during Clinton's year, APIs were 30% Democratic? In President Gore's campaign, we were 50%. But guess what we were in President Gore's campaign? For President Obama. That's an enormous number. And we are the critical vote in the states nation. Let's look at the state of Virginia. Virginia, many Korean Americans, Indian Americans, they have made a difference in that state. And a very this past November, well, Senator Mark Warner was running for re-election, but he was in real appealed to the Asian Americans in the state, and Asian Americans now 6.2% of Virginia. Because he appealed 68% voted for him, and the smallest of margins by less than 1%. In my opinion, the made the difference a lot. So that's what we can do all across this nation. If we join together and we are clear, we will have a very visible public presence and make a difference in these presidential elections. So I hope that we can join together, that we can work together over the coming months to make that happen. And I think that'd be great, because Asian Pacific Islanders will be empowered in these United States. So thank you all very much, and congratulations again, Dhatto. And I would like to give certificates of congressional recognition to your wonderful officers, to our newly installed President, Jake Jeong. Please come forward. And past President Edward Koo, and founding President Brad Lee, and fundraising chair David Song, and installation committee co-chair Young Bing, and secretaries Sue Young, Treasurer Sang, Vice President Harrison O, Vice President Kim, Steve Song, Regional Director Song Sun Kwan, and Regional Director Kyung Soo Jun. And Ms. Soo Young.
Honorable Congressman Dhatto, who's a member of the United States House of Representatives representing California's 33rd District since 2015. He's also a former California State Senator representing the 28th District from 2011 to 2015. Congressman Liu was also a California State Assemblyman who represented 53rd Assembly District from September 2005 to 2010. And I have a note here saying that his wife is also half Korean. Welcome, Congressman Dhatto.
I'll let you know about the great job that Judy Ju does for all you of us. As you may know, she is president of KAP, and under her leadership, more Asian Pacific Islanders in Congress anytime. So let's give her a round of applause. And so it's correct, my wife is half Korean, which I'm wrong. The whole world is Benji. Please find in Washington, D.C. Coming to LA, I love coming to these events, and thank you for all you do in raising your voice in the democracy. If you don't voice, you're never going to be heard, then nothing's going to happen. So it's very important that you have this organization and that it's national, so I commend you for doing it. I believe America is an exceptional nation. We are an amazing country, the best in the world, but we do have our blind spots. And one of them has to do with how has treated Asian Americans in certain instances. As you know, we have this issue where sometimes when people look at you or me, their first thought is that we're not American, that we're foreigners, that we're second-class citizens. And you see our history, we had the whole yellow peril hysteria early on, followed by the alien land laws, the Chinese Exclusion Act, and then 120,000 Americans who were interned because they had Japanese descent, followed by a case of Lee. And recently, we've had a number of cases where our Department of Justice arrested someone for alleged spying, indicted them, and then dropped all charges. And the one thing all these cases happened to be Asian American. So the case of Sherry Chen earlier this year was arrested, paraded her co-workers for being a spy for China. 5 months later, all charges were dropped. So we wrote a letter, Judy Chu and I and 20 some other members of Congress to the Attorney General asking for an investigation. Subsequent to that letter, another case happens. Professor Shi, Temple University, 12 FBI agents entered his home, arrested his daughters. They allege he had this secret he China available information, dropped all charges, wrecking his reputation, and really turning his letter to Attorney General. This time we had 40-some members of chair of the Latino caucus and chair of the Black caucus, because this is a problem. Our is looking at otherwise innocent acts in a nefarious way because it's like you or me. So we also met with the Attorney General in that meeting, and we pushed this issue. And having support from various organizations, I always look forward to working with all of you as we get all our voices heard to make sure that this doesn't continue to spread. And I believe there is a program called the Insider Threat Program. To me, it sounds a little bit like a Soviet Union type thing, but basically it tells our federal employees to report on the suspicious behavior of others. We want to know what kind of training and oversight is done. If we don't have strong training and strong oversight, then again, people that look like you or me are going to be reported at higher levels. That's something else that we're fighting for. You should also be aware that at the federal government level, there are a lot of employees, whether it's for executive boards and commissions. So if any of you are interested, or you have a friend that's interested, let Judy or me or any other Asian Pacific Congress know, and we will help you. We'll help you navigate through the process. We want to help diversify government. And all of you are here because you know in your hearts and you believe that a government that looks more like the people it represents will be a better government. I do want to also thank Brad Lee, my friend, for being here today. And thank you, Edward, for your 2 years of service. And thank you, Jake, for coming in, and we look forward to working with you as we continue to make our voices heard. And then let me sort of conclude by why it's a very hopeful position for the Asian Pacific American community right now. The census last decade showed that the fastest rising ethnic group were Asian Americans. A report from the Pew study think tank came out saying that by 2055, the number of immigrants coming in, the highest proportion of those immigrants will be Asian Pacific American. The report also said that in the coming decades, 80% of the growth in America will be from immigrants. And the one thing that no one can change is that with every passing of America, it looks more like California. And so I hope to what's inside Israel. I look forward to working with all of you to strengthen not just our communities, but America as a whole. So with that, thank you for inviting me. My staff tells that the certificates.
Just to add a few things about Congressman Tadeu coming out to the community, helping out the group and the groups with their concerns about the policies that they would be passionate to the community issues and so forth. And every time he comes out, he's coming from the airport just about every time. So thank you so much for opening your ears to hear our concerns and problems. Next, this another gentleman probably does not need any introduction, but as Ted Liu has mentioned, he's the highest-ranking Asian Americans elected in the state of California, and he's been spearheading in many ways, and he's been inspirational to many of the Asian API elected officials. Okay, I was just talking out of my heart, so I was telling the truth. Now I have to hit the notes He has served as state treasurer since January 2015, but before that he served as a former state controller for 8 successful years, and also he has served for California Board of Equalization for the state for the 10 years, and he's been not shy about speaking about our rights and what's not going right. Treasurer John Chang came out and spoke when there was budget deficit and when we were having financial difficulties in the state of California. He came out and flat out spoke out, no, this is not going right. We need to make a change. And he was not shy about that. Without further ado, State Treasurer John Chang.
Well, good evening. I'm absolutely delighted to join all of you. This is terrific. Look at all this media here. What a fantastic gathering. Well, I am so honored to be with you. I wanted to thank Brad for the extraordinary and kind invitation to join you. Edward, thank you for your persistence and your continuation of dedication to the community. And to Jake, congratulations as you elevate to assume responsibilities. I am very excited to see and be with all of you as you come together to form, at the founding of this country, a more perfect union. As Ted and I went to the same law school, but Ted's the smarter, better-looking one. He was the editor-in-chief of the Georgetown Law Review, and our great Mike Ng is also here, also another lawyer. We know at the founding of this country, we said we hold these truths to be self-evident, to form a country where there would be equality for men, but we know that men back then was a rather parochial definition. It was Caucasians. It didn't include African Americans. And as Ted just alluded to, this country is undergoing a rapid transformation. Now, at the founding, we said it's for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And so those of us who are in the public sphere are extraordinarily excited because what we do every day is to form that more perfect union. And when you participate, it gives us greater opportunity to make California, to make the United States reach its ideal. But it doesn't happen if you're not essentially and meaningfully involved in the governance of this country. So you have to have democratic governance. Now, I was incredibly fortunate because there were so many good people that came before me. And when I see younger people like Ted, like the David Ruse, then we know that we're reaching that ideal. We also have one of those people early on in the Korean community. He took that second wave Korean American Democratic Committee here in Southern California with Suki. And so we obviously have extraordinary responsibilities to make sure that we can elevate Suki to go to Sacramento. Because we want to make sure that this state, with 38.8 million people, reflects the communities of California, represents the ideals of California. And so part of this is, I was asked to speak for a few minutes about what's important for this organization to do. What you have to do is what you're doing tonight. You have to build the relationships. Judy Chu and Mike Ng were instrumental in the San Gabriel community. First with the Asians, but with the entire community, bringing Latinos, Caucasians, and all together to try to make sure that people were educated about civil rights, to take action on civil rights, to take action on education, to take action on economic development. And I think it's appropriate that Judy was the first Chinese American woman elected to Congress, right? So she can try to work to pioneer that for this country. When I came to this state after law school in 1987, I knew 8 people in this state, and I was very interested in public policy. And so I knew, as I was making the switch from a legal career later on into a political career, that you had to make a new start, and I had to build these relationships that I'm talking about today. So I went from an $88,000 legal job to a $30,000 political job, because I knew that if Asians were going to make progress, right, people had to know on the Democratic side. You had to know about the environment, understanding the concerns of working people. You had to build relationships with diverse communities. We had that blessing, the Jewish community, the African American community, the Latino community, the LGBT community. You had to build those relationships. Because when I was working for elected officials early on, there weren't those relationships established. The fact that you are here and you have people from nationally makes a huge difference, right? Because in this room, as you just watch over the next 5, 10, 25 years from now, with the help of Judy, Suki, Mike, Ted, Mike Honda, and others, you're really going to elevate. But you don't know who in this room or you don't know who outside of this room is really going to help you achieve. One of my really, really closest political friends is Kevin Kim from New York. And Kevin and I met at a NAPABA event. And I was giving the keynote speech at NAPABA, and Kevin just came up to me after speaking and said, John, I just want to know you, I want to meet you, I want to help you. Right, because we're talking about a greater vision. And I said, Kevin, I want to help you, right? Because Kevin was talking about how at that point in time, a decade ago, there were no Korean Americans elected in the history of the New York City Council. You're thinking, here you have one of the great cities in the world with a vibrant Korean population, and yet they had no representatives in its history. So just little things, right? Kevin would help me, and when Kevin was running and he got so close, I flew out to New York to walk precincts for him in Queens. Because in these elections, you don't know who's going to be there for you. So I want you just to understand that our greatest days are ahead. You do everything you can. You work with Judy, you work with Ted, you work with Mike, you work with Suki. You have extraordinary leadership with Edward and Brad and others. And then you will be part of that mantle of leadership. And the great thing is, it's going to change, right? Because in the past, they haven't viewed Asian Pacific Americans as leaders. But as Ted mentioned, it's changing dramatically. 2 years before I was born in 1960, 85% of this country was Caucasian. 12% of it was African American. Asians and Latinos were near de minimis. Today, the number of Caucasians is 63%, and it's been the growth in the population, 20+% that's been replaced by Latinos and Asian Americans. And then Ted was talking about what it's going to look like in 2050. Right, so our ability to work together can send an important signal to humanity, right? Because when you don't get it right, you look at, unfortunately, what's happened in Paris. You look at what's happening in Turkey. You look at what's happening in Russia. So we have this obligation in this country, our pluralism, to make this work. And so to you, thank you very, very much. And I did have my resolutions. Audrey, thank you. I don't know, Brad, do you want me to present them now or present them later on?
You can just bring that to income.
Okay, so I have the resolutions for the officers, so Edward, I'll present them to you. But most importantly, I look forward to working with each and every single one of you as we watch the progress of America fully include the Korean American community and all others, so that our dreams do come true sooner than later. Thank you very much.
Jake is the incoming president, so. Thank you so much for your inspirational speech, John. You just made the 70 other friends. Those of you who have never met John in person before, now is the time to go up and say, hi, my name is so-and-so, I'd like to meet you. And I know that he's been just talking to pretty much everybody, so he probably knows more than half the people here, too. Okay, now, other half of Congresswoman Judy Chu that I'm going to introduce, who also does not need any introductions. He's an immigration lawyer that started practicing in Koreatown for the longest time. I know even the ones that I know that when they come to the United States, community leaders, they use his help. I'm talking about Mike Green. He served as the state assembly successfully, and he served as a former Monterey Park City Council and mayor of Monterey Park. Now he serves as Los Angeles Community College trustee. Mike and I, when Cardinal was formed about 8 years ago, sat down and talked and asked him about the questions and guidances that he has provided. I cannot thank enough for Trustee Mike King. Without further ado, please help me welcome.
It's not a good. Thank you very much, 감사합니다, to all of you. It's not a good sign when they take all the microphones from Channel 4, Channel 2, and CNN just walked out the door. Not a good sign. But, I saw LAPD out there and I thought, boy, this is going to be the first DUI ticket I get without even taking my first drink. But thank you very much. I know our Honorable Captain Petronila is here today. Thank you so much for your wonderful command leadership. I'm really angry. I was in San Francisco this morning and I had to take 2 taxis. I paid $150 for one, and then I flew over just to be here tonight. I'm really angry. But let me tell you what's made me even angrier. For years, let me ask you if you've heard these insulting stereotypes. By the way, where's Suki Khan?
He just said that.
Even he left. I was going to say a nice thing about him too. Whenever I speak, people hear their bladders calling, anyway. I'm really angry, but so let me just make this really brief. Have you heard their insulting stereotypes? Let me ask you. They said that when we speak, they don't understand what we're saying. They say we're emotional, with no substance. They say we have too many leaders. We're all running for office just to get publicity, but not leading anybody. And they said we could never lead America. And they're right, because they're referring to all Republican candidates for president. Now, it's true. Is this Democrat me? Is this a Democratic movement or a Democrat like Democrats? Okay, anyway, I can make jokes about Democrats. Okay, now, it just as well could have been the other party. But right now, in terms of what I see, we can't understand what many of them are saying. And many of them are emotional, with no substance, especially when it comes to immigration and refugees. And many of them do seem to be just getting publicity. And it's true that some of them may not be ready to lead America. But let me tell you who is ready. Cadno is ready, right? Cadno is ready because we have incredible, dynamic leaders in the Korean community. On a national scale, leaders like Mark Kim. How many of you saw the YouTube video that featured Cadno? How many of you saw the YouTube videos? There are 2 of them. They're right. How many of you know what YouTube means? How many of you know what salmon and steak means? Anyway, go home and Google Cadno YouTube, and you will see some amazing videos about the work that Cadno has done on a national scale. And leaders here like Kang Soo-ki, like David Ryu, many of them are better leaders than some of the rhetoric that we see coming on the national news. And let me tell you why Cadno is to be respected. It's respected because you are united, you're clear in your message. As John Chung said so eloquently, you have brought a coalition together of many, many different interests. And you know how to work the political system. And so the one thing that I really respect is that you know about how to build a democracy, which is you take turns at office, right? You share power. You have an orderly transition every time we have the president, right?
even though Jake told me he wants to serve for at least 10 years. So, in conclusion, I wanted to tell you that I am really honored to be here. I will be introducing and calling up the honorees tonight, but before I do, I just wanted to say, 주구훈 후일 보노세요 상탄 울 축하합니다, which means Happy New Year. And I want to thank 감사합니다 Suki Kang. It was in this very hotel, in this very room, 15 years ago, that Kang Suki organized some of the first meetings of the Democratic clubs in the Korean community. And he helped to organize the successful election of Adam Schiff. And I met Adam here for the very first time right here. 감사합니다. Kang Suki. 축하합니다. 감사합니다. So I'd like to now segue here. I really wasn't brought up to do anything important, but I did want to present a certificate. I know you have many officers, but because of the budget crisis and I'm with the Community College Board, we decided that we would save paper for our textbooks and our diplomas. So they only gave you enough paper for one, and it's not even real paper, it's rice paper. So if you spill some bibimbap or some soup on it, it's going to disappear. So Jake, can you come up? Why don't we share in this? Okay, maybe I can cut it in half. Can I borrow my scissors? Thank you. Here, we'll just take a quick picture here. That was fast. Thank you so much. By the way, yeah, it cost at least $1 to prepare, so watch it carefully. At this time, I wanted to call up some very important people that we're going to honor tonight, and that's really why I was asked to be here tonight, fighting about 2 hours of traffic and taking 2 taxis and spending $200 on taxi service. And I haven't eaten anything all day either. I did have some peanuts on Southwest Airlines, by the way.
We have some bread on the
I want some bibimbap right away. Bali. So I want to call up the outgoing president of CADNO. Edward's just been incredible. And let me just tell you, I had lunch the other day at the Bonaventure Hotel with your leadership. I ended up paying for it, unfortunately, but the incredible care that they have to make sure that the Korean American community is not left out. And I want to call up Edward. Edward is the outgoing president of CADNO. He's been the advisory committee chair for the Korean American Chamber of Commerce USA. He's been the president of the Korean American Chamber of Commerce of Los Angeles 2011. I thought Chang Lee was the permanent president. He's also the president of LAPD OBA Foundation. What does OBA stand for? Olympic Station. Oh. Top pay. I'm sorry, I don't understand those notes here. OBA Foundation from 2008 to 2010. And also been the president of the Korean American Real Estate Brokers Association of Southern California, 2007, and also the president of the Young Christian Businessmen's Committee of LA from 2004 to 2006. Do you want me to mention everybody and we all come, or just one by one?
Well, you can't just call everybody.
Oh, why don't you all come up? It's going to take 2 hours anyway. And then Brad Lee, 변호사님, founding president of... How many of you think Brad Lee is your best friend? I do all the time, especially when I owe him money. But he's the founding president of CADNO. We all know him. All the elected officials love him. He's the former president of the Korean American Democratic Committee, KADC. He's the former president of the... How many? There's KADC, KCLA, KUCLA, KUSC, K-State, Cal State LA, well, there's so many. He's the former president. You know, when I haven't eaten anything, I can't think. All the blood is in my shoes right now. He's the former president of the Korean American Community Lawyers Association. They just had dinner last week. He's the former... What?
No, go ahead and read.
He wants to skip that because we took all the leftovers from that buffet and we're serving it tonight to keep save money. And the former president of the LAPD, Olympic Boosters Association, Bradley Chukamida. Jake Jeong, Regional Advisor of Kadno, Korea, President of Itaewon News Korea. Where is he? Kamsamida, Chukamida. And David Song, Installation Committee Chair, Fundraising Chair of Kadno, past President of the Korean American Insurance Association, Board Member of the Olympic PlayStation Boosters. So these are your leaders. Would you please join me in standing and giving them a standing ovation, a standing Korean ovation. Everybody say, 축하합니다. 감사합니다. 축하합니다. 감사합니다. Oh, am I presenting them?
To Edward.
This is to Edward.
Right, Edward.
감사합니다.
네, 천만에요, 천만에요. 영어 못해요. Bradley, 감사합니다. Hey, keep clapping if you're going to stand. Keep clapping. And David Song, 감사합니다. And also Jun Kyung-soo, 감사합니다. Oh, you can be seated now. Okay. Can we ask all the elected officials and past elected officials to join us here too?
Yeah,
Because
that's a good idea.
that way there'll be more food left for those of you. Kang Suki and Judy Chu, John Chung, and Ted Liu. You notice the theme here, this is transparent, the awards are transparent. We believe in real transparency in government, don't we?
Judge.
Yeah, a judge.
Yeah, Judge, please come on.
Yeah,
박 회장님.
show us. Okay, here, I'll stand.
Don't want to block you, you know?
No, I don't want to. After what I said, they don't want to be associated with me.
Wait, hold on.
Ernie!
Captain.
Getting mugged.
Palazzolo.
Oh,
And Captain Stroker.
I hope he has a wide angle.
you know what? We all come on up. Can we see you? I heard your laugh, but can we see you? Okay.
Just one more shot. Thank you.
Okay, that's
Great. All right. Here we go.
Thank you very much. It is now 8:10, and I've been informed that we're going to start dinner at 8:15, so please, 5 minutes to bear. Next, we have Mr. Richard Park. His Korean name is Park, and he's been a DNC member for 30 years, and he's supported and worked with many Democratic elected officials, including Senator Ted Kennedy, John Rockefeller, Barbara Boxer, Dianne Feinstein, as well as many Congress members. He's been a longtime friend of Bill and Hillary Clinton, and he's been working as a liaison between Korea and the United States for a long time. He's the former president of Koreatown Association, and former president of Korea University Alumni Association, and the first chairman of the United States Busan Anchamo Memorial Committee. He's the president of Roadman and Park Consulting. Please welcome.
I'd like to add a few things.
Okay, right. On top of that.
Yeah, I'd like to add a few things. He's godfather of Korean American Democratic the members, and he was just helping so many elected and appointed people to get appointed by the White House and governor's office. So if there is anybody, and he always kept himself very low profile. He was not, he didn't want to shine himself with what he has done. But we should, I really want to take an opportunity to recognize his hard work for the last 30 years without him having that type of a relationship with the people like Jerry Brown, and he helped him in 1976 when he was running for governor. In fact, in 1976, no other person has done that. And when Bill Clinton was running in 1992, he helped Clinton, and he's had the very good relationship since then. Now he has a daughter, and that's Hillary's last name, former prior to maiden last name, Voter, and Park Consulting that he's having in office. So we really want to thank you. Please join me to welcome Mr. Richard Jeong.
오늘 제가 여기서 말할 힘이 없습니다. 하도 말 잘하는 사람들이 나와서 말을 다 해버렸기 때문에 오늘 이 자리를 마련한 한미민주 총연합회를 감사를 드리고 축하드립니다. 또 멀리 온 타주에서 오신 여러분에게 감사를 드리고 축하드립니다. 감사하고 축하드린다는 말뿐이 할 수가 없습니다. Thank you.
Okay, now the winner is right now or okay. All right, we're gonna have a couple more speakers and then maybe we can have dinner, sir. All right, now I'd like to take this opportunity to, well, you have a brand on the table, so you can really start to speak to yourself a little, but I want to bring this person, he was a spearheading and just helping to bring, he's the pride. And he's the leader of our community, and he has certainly broke the glass ceiling. However, there still is a big ceiling that he has to break, and without our support and help, he's not going to be able to do that. So we all need to support him, and he's running for state senate, and very successfully served as the mayor of the city of Irvine and councilman. While he was a mayor and city councilman, the Irvine was recognized as the safest city to live in the United States, not just California. So please help me welcome Mr. Jake Jeong.
Brad, thank you for the warning. I know everybody's hungry, so I just want to make it very quick. As Mike, I call him brother, 15 years ago, 2000, during the Democratic Convention, Korean American Democrats, for the first time in its history, we organized a national luncheon during DNC. That was the first time that Korean American Democrats were ever recognized in the mainstream. 10 years ago, we couldn't even think about having 2 or 3 members of Congress, the top-ranking California state white officer, be with the Korean Democrats to celebrate the president's inauguration. Today is a reflection of the progress and the growth of Korean American Democrats. We have come a long way, but we have more to go. We don't have a member in Congress yet. We don't have a member in state senate yet. And this is why my race, running for state senate, It's going to be a symbolic. After 50 years, when Mr. Alfred Song was first elected in 1966, we're going to make a history once again. And for that, I am doing my best. And let me tell you something. My support from all these elected officials, from John Chung, he wrote the first check. Judy Chu wrote letters of support to everyone in the state of California. Mike Ng, Ted Lieu, Mike Honda, you name it. We are united in supporting my race in 2016. So here I just want to leave you one very important message. When we hosted an event back in 2000, we had two organizations in the Korean American community. I led one called KADCLA, something like that. And also we had an organization starting from 1992 with KADC, Korean American Democratic Committee. Frankly, I did not know that there was another organization, but we went through it. And after a year, we found the common ground. And we were reunited, the first generation and second generation as a whole. And that was the power that we really exercised during the convention. So my message to you today, I know we had a president of Korean American Democratic Committee, Jean Kim, sitting here today. This is an opportunity with KADC and KADNO work together, shoulder to shoulder, side by side, to elect the elected officials that we want to elect. And this is what we need to do in 2016. Presidential election is coming up. It is very important, not only for the Korean American community, but also the entire world. Look at what's happening in the international world right now. We're at stake. We need to elect great people in the system. And we do have all the infrastructure now with Judy, John, Ted, and Mike, and everybody else. We need to utilize and maximize the opportunity. So with that in mind, I think this is a great celebration. This is a new beginning of our Korean American Democrats coming forward, onward, and upward. Thank you very much.
Okay, so you remind me, so next speaker is going to be our speaker, LAPD Captain, Captain Palazzolo. So since I didn't see your name, Mayor Kang, I know that you are SBD, but then the program did not have it. The printing guy makes all the mistakes. But he had to send the printing out, and then he sometimes make a mistake. And he's been a good friend with us. I should be saying this kind of stuff about the print. He helped us tremendously. Now, new captain, since February of this year, served for LAPD for 26 years. And he served at many different the communities before coming to Koreatown. And he seems to like the Korean culture, and he's getting used to it, and he likes to go into this event, and now he's getting to know people, and he understands the culture and dynamics of the Korean community. So really want to thank him, and whenever he attends the event, that's the safest place in Koreatown to be at. Please help me welcome our new captain.
Good evening, and Mike, I'm going to make this real short because we know there's steak and salmon coming, right? So, thank you very much. Brad is right. I've only been here at Olympic for 8 months. It's been a wonderful experience, and getting to know the community, and I do feel very comfortable in this community because it is now my community. One thing that I do have to learn how to how to do is play golf though. So we're having our golf tournament actually on Monday. And no, I'm not a very good golfer, and as Bradley has witnessed firsthand, Chang Lee has witnessed firsthand. But this is a great community. It is a community that, as many people have mentioned, is the fastest growing community in the country. One of the things that I like to tell people, and by the way, Olympic area is composed of primarily Koreatown, but we also have many other communities, 7 different cultural and ethnic communities in this big community. So it really is what is representative of LA, what makes LA so great, and what makes this country so great. So, I tell, as I meet with different community groups and different ethnic and cultural groups, I say, remember who you are, remember where you came from. Be proud of your ethnicity and celebrate your culture, but each and every day, be good Americans. Thank you.
So each station has 2 captains. Captain Palazzolo is an aerial commanding officer, and we do have a Captain Stuart Raker. So he's just assigned to Olympic Station as well. But due to our time, I'm gonna give you the microphone here. So I know that you all like to eat, and so I apologize for putting you in that position. But here's Captain Stuart Raker, right? Stuart Raker.
Thank you very much. For the last 33 years, I've served the Los Angeles community, and I want to tell you that I'm so privileged to be here in Koreatown with you guys. And I pledge to make this the safest place that I possibly can for you. As you did see, there were a lot of police officers out here earlier this evening, and that's why I was late. I was handling something out here that hopefully made us all safer here today. So anyway, I'm very privileged to be here in the community, and I do know that we all want to eat, right?
We're going to build it up, but we do have community leaders such as Chamber of Commerce President and so on, and everybody else, other organizations. So I want the elected officials, if the time is allowing, please stay and listen to community concerns. That it is very important to our community, and so we would really greatly appreciate if you can stay. And there's an after party too, so if you can stay for after party, that would be a wonderful opportunity to meet our members. Now, you guys ready for the food? Okay, bring it on. Thank you so much.
회의 이해로 무궁화 발전을 위하여 건배!
정경 사장님.
Honorable Congressman Mike who just arrived from When I first heard about him and what he did for the woman in the Korean community, I was very touched. I'm honored to meet him in person today, and I'm very excited to hear what he has to say. And of course, he's known to our Korean American community as a true leader who spearheaded for the human rights of comfort women. He's truly a friend and a leader of our Korean American community. And he's a U.S. Congressman for California's 17th district, known as Silicon Valley. I didn't know, but Silicon Valley is the only Asian American majority district in the United States. So please welcome Congressman Mike Honda.
I'm gonna give them time to drink some water. Catch his breath. I want to say a few things about the Congressman Mike Honda. Congressman Mike Honda is having a very challenging election next year because of what he helped the Kurdish community and other issues that he has done in the past. There is people like him and support him, but also there are some people not liking him and they're opposing him. So he's having a very, very challenging year next year, and he needs our support, and we need a representative like Mike Honda in a Congress continue to represent our voice and our community. Please help me welcome Congressman Mike Honda.
I made it. Well, thank you, Mark, and thank you for putting a suspension in your dinner tonight. I just came here to say hello and pay my respects to your group. You call yourself CAT, though, or Korean American Democratic National Organization? This is pretty cool. That's good. And I see some of our friends, people who. Hey, what's up? And I was just in LA to meet with some attorneys on certain issues, but it's certainly nice of you to let me speak to you. I'm like we'll say, I'm running for re-election, and for the first time in about 12 years, I have a candidate that has been pretty active and is willing to go to the dark side in the campaign. So we beat him the first time last time, but he came 4 percentage points in the general election with 39% turnout and judge. And so I just wanted to make sure that this time he does not become successful. And for me, I judge people holding office by their character and by their principles and how they run business. Just to be frank with you, there's been a lot of negative campaigning against me in the ethics areas, and we really want to be careful with politicians in the area of ethics. But what I ask people to do is just look into it and find out what the real charges are, and then ask yourself, does it make any sense? And is this guy really looking for straws to pull up and throw up in the air and make sure that he gets more name recognition than I do? We will win, but my task is to raise enough money to get my story out and tell my story. Particularly to the Korean community, I guess most everybody knows about the Songnoye, the Uyangu, and that issue has been a very strong issue for me since '94. I've learned about it because of some groups in Stanford that provided some photo displays. And ever since then, it's been just gnawing at my gut. And when I was in California State Assembly, we passed a resolution to ask Congress to do something. And everybody said in the Japanese consulate says, Mike, the state takes care of state things. This is a national, international thing. You have no business messing around in it. I said, well, okay, just stop me if you can. And we got it passed, and Congress picked it up. But when I got to go to Congress, I picked it up again. When we took over the leadership of Congress in 2007, the very first thing that came up on the docket was the issue of the Uyangu. And we passed it unanimously in the subcommittee. And that's the first time I ever met a woman that had just been victimized. And the woman, Yoon Soo Lee, she gave a powerful speech that afternoon. But the phrase that stuck with me was a phrase that she said
if the Japanese government cannot give me an apology, then give me back my youth. And that struck me in the sense that over 200,000 girls and women were kidnapped, coerced into sexual slavery. And that's an abomination. But the thing is, it's still going on today. It's happening in Darfur, it happens in Nigeria, it happens in Congo, in Boko Haram. They kidnapped 300 girls, mostly young girls, to be sold as slaves and wives. So it's an issue of the past, it's current, and it's in the future. So next week I'll be going to the UN with the parliamentarian from Canada. Her name is Yeon Martin. She's Korean American from there. Jasmine Lee, I think it is from Korea. She'll be there. So there'll be 5 parliamentarians presenting a UN resolution to address the violence against women and girls and making sure that this kind of behavior stops. It's not cultural. It's a phenomenon that happens during times of conflict and of natural disasters. We cannot allow it to happen. Violence against women, human trafficking of women and children. So I think that part of the job that I see happen is that, and part of the reason why this is such a great job is I get to pick my fights. And the other thing is we're looking to increase the number of Asian Americans in Congress. When I was there was only 2. Then there was 1, then there was 2 again. And now there's 14. But we don't have anyone there with a Korean surname. And so and there's no reason why there shouldn't be one. Because you look in this room, you look across this country, you have leaders and you have thinkers and thought leaders, people who can and who are eligible, who qualify to be in Congress. We just got to find a way to get them to be elected by their local community and by the local party. And that's why this group is so important, to provide that nurturing and provide that environment where you can practice the leadership skills. And also to impose yourselves on the local government, whether it's state, local, city, county, and the federal government. You can do that. And you just need to be able to do that. And you have a couple of opportunities to send someone to the state senate, who's been a wonderful colleague of mine. And so I just want to say thank you to all of you for your thoughts, your prayers. And I guess the only thing I can think of as a group going forward as a Democratic club is 같이 갑시다.
At this time, I'd like to humbly ask you to all rise and then give them standing ovation. Thank you so much. It's good to exercise after you. Now, I'd like to recognize elected officials and staffers. Elected official is Henry Lowe. Currently serves for school board of Garvey, and he works as a staffer for a state assembly member at Channel. Please. I'd like to recognize State Treasurer John Cheng has just left, but he left a part of him in our office here in our room, which is Audrey Nora. If you want to have John Cheng come to your event, talk to Audrey, because John does not know his schedule. Audrey knows. Audrey tells him where to go. Here or there. Audrey knows. I'd like to recognize that the greatest thing happened in City of LA. David Liu became the first Korean American city councilman of the city of Los Angeles. He couldn't be here today because he's got important things that he has to take care of in his district. Certainly, it is important for him to, when the city district elected him, they're expecting to do the work for his district, so he couldn't be here, but he sent the better half. I shouldn't be saying that. But he's been long friend. They're not married. They were just roommates before. And no, it's not like that. They're just friends, some bad friends. And this person, Alex Gibb, he used to be a representative for Arnold Schwarzenegger, but now he's the chief of staff for the city councilman David Liu. And we'd like to hear a few words from him. He's a great imitator.
Thank you, good evening. Actually, I'm senior advisor, but chief of staff is pretty good too. Brad told me, because I used to work for Governor Schwarzenegger, I should do an impression, so he would say, "Welcome to California." But I'm here on his behalf. I'm sorry he couldn't make it, but he sent me here because of the importance of your 4th anniversary. You know, I remember from Brad when he was helping forming it way back when, even 15 years ago. We talked about this, the importance of getting Korean American to serve at various different levels, but especially at the LA City and LA County level. Well, we've done it for the city of LA for the first time, because thanks for all of your help, but we still have a lot to go far. You know, we still have the county of LA, we haven't had an Asian American to serve there, but you know, Sugi knows in Orange County we had the success with Michelle Parks Field there. She is a Republican, but she is a Korean American. Yeah, let's give them a hands up. People know that I'm actually a Republican myself, so you know, so David chose the right person to really talk about the important issues. But more than that, it's good to be here and to really honor all of your contributions. Especially in this group, we have 1st generation Korean Americans, we have 2nd generation. I think it's rare to have the combination groups working together in Koreatown. So as we move forward, thanks to seeing so many elected officials from all the way from Washington, D.C., from Sacramento, from locally, it's a testament to Kadno that they have so much respect for, and Judge Hiroshige, the importance of this organization to move on and to collaborate with also other Korean American groups and to elect more Korean Americans. So thank you so much on behalf of Councilman David Liu.
Thank you so much. Up until now, it was either elected officials or their staffers. Now it's time for our community members and the community leaders to come out and say what they want or what they wish from the elected officials. I think this was our new incoming president, Jake Jeong's idea. Normally people want to just come to the installation and leave, but he wants to make it a little bit more meaningful. And what is the mean to get connected with the elected officials and how we can be heard to the elected officials, so what they expect from us and what they can do and what they also expect from us. With that, I'd like to introduce, he's a very special person. He's the president of a KADC, Korean American Democratic Committee, which was, that is a backbone of KADNO. Certainly, that was formed in 1992 right after a riot. That was probably the Koreans' first appearance to mainstream. People did not know Koreatown, people didn't care about Koreatown, but until the riot happened, that's when the newspaper talked about Koreatown being victimized and so forth. So we just left a very, very negative and victimized sentiment. So David Goose was probably the first ever good news of letting everybody know about Koreatown. Koreatown has come a long way, Korean community has a long way. So KADC has done a great job. Before KADNO, KADC local, Mayor Suki Kang was a president, I was a president, in 2008, and that was just one of the great organizations. Even now, the board members are very young, energetic, grassroots, second generation, available candidates for future appointments and elections. And Jin Kim is here, and Jin and Jay got together, and they were in the process of working together to better and empower the Korean political involvement. So, without further ado, here's Jin Kim. Please welcome.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you all for providing this opportunity to address all of these leaders that have gathered here tonight. Thank you especially to Brad, to Edward, and to Jake for your leadership with KADNO. And as Brad mentioned, my name is Jin Kim. I'm the incoming president of the Korean American Democratic Committee. I've held that position for about 20 days, more than Jake has. So I have a slightly more experience in that regard. And along those lines, as Brad mentioned, KDC has been around for over 2 decades. We came out of the Los Angeles riots because a group of community leaders came together and realized Korean Americans don't have a seat at the table. We don't have a voice. We don't have a champion. And over that time, through the work of so many leaders in this room, community leaders, elected officials, we've been able to build more of that infrastructure, more of that political clout. The fact that we would have, I was about to say governor, treasurer John Chung, future governor John Chung, and so many other elected leaders like Congressman Ted Lieu, Congresswoman Judy Chu, my former boss when I worked in Washington, D.C., obviously Congressman Mike Honda, one of the greatest champions for the Korean American community that's ever served in the U.S. Congress, former Mayor Suki Kang, former future State Senator Suki Kang, and also other electeds like Henry Lowe, and those who've been able to come through tonight, Trustee Mike King. It's just amazing to see so many folks, and having the captains of the LAPD here, knowing a bit about our history and where our community has been, it's truly amazing to have this kind of turnout. But at the same time, we all know that we have a long way to go, both in securing representation, in terms of ensuring that Korean Americans have that seat in politics and in government, and to ensure that we're supporting the right leaders moving forward. And 2016 is a very important year for us, not just because of the presidential election, which is obviously very important, but we have folks like Mayor Suki Kang, we have folks like Congressman Mike Honda, people with very difficult elections ahead of us. And we know that as a community, we have to support those who've supported us all along. People who are proven leaders, proven champions for our values, our voice, and making sure that our government not only looks more like us, but represents our value and all that we stand for as a Korean American Democratic Committee and as a Korean American Democratic National Organization. So as Mayor Kang and others have emphasized, moving into this coming year, my invitation to all of you is that we all work together, as Jake and I have already discussed on multiple occasions, to really build out our community, ensure that we are doing all that we can, raising the funds, knocking on doors, making the phone calls to help drive these folks forward and to promote leadership within our own community to ensure that we will never be in a place again where we're stuck outside the building staring in and lacking that representation and that power inside. So thank you all so much for taking the time to be here tonight. It means the world to us as a community, to myself as a second-generation Korean American. I know that the only reason I can even stand here and have the career that I've had is because so many in this room paved that way. So thank you all again for this, and I look forward to working with you all moving forward.
Next community leader I'm going to introduce is Ms. Kim She's the current president of KCLA, Korean Community Leaders Association, and she's a former president of LA Wilshire Lions Club, and she's been practicing family law since 2004. Please welcome Ms. Kim.
Thank you, Sue, for your generous introduction. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Kim, president of Korean Community Lawyers Association, KCLA. It is my honor to address the messages to the politicians and to the community on behalf of KCLA. KCLA has two goals. One is serving the needy person who is in legal hardship, and the other is educating and providing the right information to the community when we encounter legal issues. Today, I urge the politicians that desperate need of Korean Americans to understand welfare and immigration policies, to mobilize the one voice in support of immigrants' rights and to advocate for legislative changes. We as attorneys consult with many people who are suffering from their illegal status, and we can feel their pain directly hurt by anti-immigrant policies. As we all know that immigrants contribute greatly to bettering American society, and they must be an essential part of American in furthering representative democracy. As to community, I'm so glad to say that KCLA is ready to cooperate with other organizations to serve the community, including monthly free legal clinic, and also encouraging young men and women who want to become ambitious politicians, and good relationship with other organizations, or good relationship with other ethnic groups, and so on. So whenever you need our participation, please let us know. And lastly, congratulations, Jake Jeong, the incoming president of CADNO, and also a member of KCLA. I'm so proud of you. I look forward to working with you for the next year to make this community better. Thank you.
Next, I'm going to introduce the president of Korean American Chamber of Commerce in Los Angeles, Mr. Lawrence Han. He's also the chairman of the Council of Korean Business Organizations of Southern California. And in his spare time, he also has a job. He's a founder and CEO of Pacific Allied Asset Management since 1991. Please welcome Mr. Lawrence Han.
Wow, it's been a long night to me as a listener. It's good to see you, Congressman Honda, again. And we, Korean American community, appreciate for your great contribution to pursue the justice for the conflict woman, or, 위안부. Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. Good evening. I'm Lawrence Han. Sue introduced, I'm a president of the Korean American Chamber of Commerce, and I also represent Council of Korean Business Organizations of Southern California, so-called 경제단체협의회, or 경단협 in Korean, as a chairperson. To tell you the truth, I was concerned about presenting in front of a troop of elite Democrats, seeing as I'm a Republican. I think that's why they put me the last minute in the speaker. I will take it that way. However, before my political denomination, I dare to say that I'm a proud Korean American who has shared the same cultural values as sons and daughters of immigrants who had stepped onto this great nation to pursue the American dream. Korean American Democratic National Organization, or KADNO for short, has given a voice to the Korean American community in the United States, seeking to improve the presentation of our community's voice to the mainstream political sector. I applaud your tireless efforts in representing our culture's vast attribute in this country we now call home. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is my great honor to be here to congratulate Mr. Jake Jeong, incoming president of KADNO, and the newly elected officers and board members. The Korean American community has gone through tremendous social, economic, and cultural growth during the last several decades. In the midst of this explosive growth, the KADNO has always been there providing leadership and support to the dynamically growing community. I believe that President Jeong and his administration will continue to carry on exceptional leadership for this organization. And I would like to mention about Mr. Edward Koo, outgoing president of CADNO, and his officers in his administration. I thank you all for making your great contributions and endeavors to the proud history and legacy of CADNO. Thank you, Mr. Koo. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored and grateful to be here with you tonight to celebrate this memorable moment. May God bless you and your family. Thank you. 감사합니다.
And I'm sure President Lawrence Hahn will register as a Democrat. We'll put you on top. That's not true.
I'll discuss with my wife.
Okay, I forgot to mention one elected official. Is he came from Illinois, Chicago, Illinois. He's a Maine Township School Board member, Mr. Kennedy. He's recognized. Okay, next we have Mr. President Dae-Sung Choi. He's the president-elect of the garment industry, which is a very backbone and support of the Korean community's economy, but he's got a very, very important issue that he would like to address to the elected officials. Please welcome Mr. Dae-Sung Choi.
I think the U.S. about almost 90% speak to Korea. I think that's better. I like to have him in Japan because he only speaks Korean language. So let me explain to you guys by the Korean language. That's much better. 전부 다 okay. If you guys want to know by the Korean language, if you don't know, that's you guys' fault, not my fault. I came from Texas, El Paso, because I went there without our government business. In here, Los Angeles, $10 each hour starting next January 1st. In the Texas El Paso, $7.25. In here, for the insurance for the worker, 13.5%. Over there, 7.25%. Why should I have to live in Los Angeles? Everybody, 전부 다. Allá tienen como otro español. Yo todo terminado, yo hablo a ustedes. 여기서 우리가 살아남지 못하기 때문에 we cannot survive from Los Angeles because too high. Everybody said collect money for you guys elect the next year. What you guys did? What you did for the owners of the owner? I don't know what you guys did. That's why our association already about 7 to 12 factory moving now to El Paso because of El Paso City. They said, "Hey, welcome. I will give you some incentive. I will give you something. The tax rate down." Something like that. But Los Angeles, they did not. Next year, January, they started to investigate again from the Labor Department, from City Hall, to the soil factor. Who can survive in Los Angeles? Because you guys did so tight. But you guys are not okay. City Hall, Assembly, Congress, what they do for the Los Angeles? They have to collect money for the elected another year? I don't think so. You have to work hard. You have to activate for this small business owner. Why we want to leave the Los Angeles? Why we have to leave? I was here in 1975. I lived here more than 40 years. Why do I have to go again to the Texas El Paso? Why? Because I want to survive. I don't want to steal your money. I want to survive this country. Please. I'm telling you guys, take a small business owner. Thanks.
You know, with current new. Oh yeah. I mean, if we can, yes, if we can have elected officials come out in response to some of the concerns, we would really appreciate it.
Would you like to respond right now?
Yes.
Let me first say, where's the gentleman? Oh, there he is. Thank you, Mr. Jordan.
Thank you, sir.
You got courage. You got courage to speak up and say what you believe in. And I think you have that right to speak up for your own small business. I don't know what small business you have, but in San Jose, I led the process to increase the minimum wage from $7.25 to $10, but over 2 years. So it's incremental, okay? I did it because we had people like waiters, waitresses, bartenders, people in the service industry who work at $7.25 an hour. You cannot raise a family. You say, who can afford to live in LA as a small business person? I say, who can afford to live in LA or California or in Silicon Valley at $7.25 an hour, raise a family, send them to school, put food on the table, and put a shelter over their head at $7.25 an hour? That's, you know, the power of the $7.25 compared to the $1 when we first started minimum wage. The $1, that's the ordinary rent, $1, would be around $15, $16, $17 power. And the minimum wage dollar stayed at $7.25. So this effort to raise the minimum wage is it's a good effort, but it's, for a small business, I think it feels like it's all of a sudden. And you know, but I think most cities go into increments. Seattle's a city that started to look at $15 an hour, but it wasn't overnight. You know, I think that's too much. But I think it's not too much to ask that over time, that minimum wage goes up per hour. And most of the Asian restaurants in San Jose, they didn't want to talk to me. And they would argue with me in front of their own staff and saying, I have to lay them off. You know what? After this is passed, everybody who worked in other cities around Santa Clara County came to San Jose. Why? Because they could earn more, they're more stable, they don't look for other jobs. And, you know, I told my friends who own the restaurants, raise the price a little. You know, if you're gonna charge $7 for a bowl of pho, charge $8.50. But, you know, because consumers, we can absorb that little by little. So, you know, I appreciate your courage and your willingness to speak up, but I think that you need an answer. And this is my best answer I can give you. So I appreciate your courage. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your response. I guess the garment industry is just something they were not part of the decision making when they were making a decision as long as because their voice has been heard. And if it wasn't considered as a part of consideration, I guess that was more upsetting than actual the increase of the minimum wages and so forth. So it is very important that the Asian community, and especially the Korean community, who are, the garment industry, majority of the garment industry owners are Korean community, they felt that they were neglected. So that's something that we all have to just work together, and elected officials like you going out there and raising the voice and the concerns. So there could be a second thoughts. It is important to make the laborers make a living, but at the same time, small business owners, most of the immigrants are small business owners. You can, the laborers can make money, but the small business owners gets wiped out. Then who's going to run those small businesses? Is the people who are used to running this business and who has a lot of money and franchise their businesses and so forth. So that, in that sense, I think it is just important to have our voice to be heard. So let us understand and just take the small steps to protect the small business owners with the government support and so forth.
Well, like you said, though, they need to be part of the process, right? To not be told that they have to be incorporated and get their point of view too. Do you have any other thoughts?
Okay, well, I guess it has been a very heated and hot ending. It's a good ending, a very good ending. How about first time MC for the event, Sue Park? How did she do? And we have an after party, so all the board members from throughout the nation. Please join us, and we'll continue to have a good time. And elected officials, please join us and continue to hear our concerns. And this will conclude our event. Thank you.